So apologies for my voice. First off, I'm kind of dealing with a cold right now, but I wanted to jump into the topic we're talking about. I've had a few clients lately really struggling with their ex being with somebody else, and they think that that really puts a final nail into the coffin. Like, I can't get them back. They found somebody else. Well, first thing to realize when you're going through a breakup, especially a painful breakup, especially one that involves somebody else, you can't trust your emotions, but don't fight them. The more you fight them, the more it magnifies it. The more you tell yourself that you can just kind of walk through it, that you can shake it off, that it's going to be okay. Even if in the short term you find some success by like going out with your friends and doing whatever you need to do to try to get your mind off of it, deep down you're not really getting your mind off of it. The more you're doing to try to prove to yourself how much it doesn't matter, the more you're quietly validating to yourself how much it matters. So that's why it doesn't work. It's like if I told you not to think about a blue elephant, then even if you never thought about a blue elephant before, you'd be thinking about it. If I kept telling you, make sure you don't think about a blue elephant, no matter what you do, you don't care about a blue elephant. Don't let it into your head. You don't care. You're too good for that. You're too strong for that. Well, the more you're telling yourself not to think about something, the more you're accidentally subconsciously reinforcing the idea that it really does matter. So embrace how much you hurt, but understand what you're feeling and why you're feeling it. I always say, accept what you feel, but don't trust what it's telling you. Because if you're going through a breakup, part of what's kind of wired into us instinctively is if somebody gives us a consistent value, a consistent sense of worth over time, and then they pull it away, it triggers this and that's very deep, very powerful compulsion to analyze ourselves. Well, why did they stop feeling what they felt? Am I not as good as I thought I was? Am I not as good as they thought I was? Were we not as happy together as I thought we were? So you get all of these internal questionings really starting to hammer you home. That's why a lot of times there are people that will tell me, I was even thinking about breaking up with my ex, but then they broke up with me, and now I realize I don't want to live without them. Now I realize they're the love of my life. What you're feeling when somebody breaks up with you is that sense of worth that's getting ripped away from you, from somebody that you didn't expect to lose it from in many cases. Now what makes that worse is if they've given those feelings to somebody else. Then you really feel it's like you just kind of put a multiplier on your pain. Now you're imagining not only why aren't you as great as they thought you were before, why is this other person better? Now you have two things telling you, forcing you to question your worth. The loss of the affection of somebody that you didn't think you would lose, and the fact that they would pick somebody else above you. So what's happening to you right now is really rocking you on a level that you just won't easily understand. That'll make you want to fight for the relationship. That wounded part of you will want to catch them, will want to remind them of who you were. Remind them of that time when they viewed you as the prize. Because you'll probably be able to remember not long ago, not only were they happy with you, but they were so happy with you that they couldn't imagine themselves with anybody else. And now not only are they not with you, they found that somebody else. So that's going to put you into a state of turmoil, especially if you're something like, if you're a really high-end problem solver, if you're a strategic thinker, if you're good with critical thought process, or if you're ADHD, which I've said before is not an attention deficiency, it's an attention dysregulation. So high-end problem solvers, somebody with ADHD or somebody with borderline, especially after a breakup, and especially if a breakup involves somebody else, it gets more painful. So accept what you're feeling, but don't let it dictate to you how you're going to react, your behavior. Don't let it convince you that it's some kind of a prophet that's telling you the future, because that pain will start whispering in your ear. If you don't do something now, you're going to lose them forever. Hey, it wasn't too long ago that the two of you are crazy in love. You just need to find a way to remind her who you are. You need to find a way to remind her or him how much you mean to them. Somehow they've forgotten. Maybe they're under a spell. So I need to find some 5-page letter. I need to find some grand romantic gesture. Hey, I've seen the movies. Maybe this is where I go buy a ring. I get on a plane. I fly down to see them. I get down on one knee. And while I'm on that one knee with that look in my eye, telling them and proving to them how hard I'm fighting for our relationship and our love, that'll be the moment that snaps them out of this and reminds them who we are, who she is, who I am, and who we are together. And it doesn't work. But when you're in that much pain, whatever that voice is telling you, if it's telling you there's hope, you're going to listen to it. A lot of times you're going to listen to it. So I'm trying to give you hope with a different voice that has a better chance of working. Now, if somebody breaks up with you and they've already started dating somebody else, this is definitely one of those situations where if you see a video that says, do this because this will work, I would be a little suspicious, even though in a sense, that's what I'm saying. But I'm going to tell you up front, this situation isn't a one-size-fits-all. The truth is, there are different reasons that somebody will break up with you and go to somebody else. Let's kind of start with the classics because it might not be a clear-cut case. Details matter. So if you're going through this and your situation is more difficult and doesn't fit into anything close to normal, think about giving me a call. You can set up a call with me at realcoachken.com. I deal with relationships issues like this, specifically the more painful, the more emotionally jarring and devastating. So if you're in one of those situations that isn't this kind of your normal run-of-the-mill breakup, it's a little bit more complicated, then let me know and I'd love to talk to you. You can schedule a call with me at realcoachken.com. But not every situation is the same. The first one I'm going to go over is if you've been together for a while, right? The truth is opposites attract. So if you've been together for a while, if this is like the love of your life, if this is the most significant relationship that you've had in your life, then chances are that person in a lot of ways is your opposite, because it's how we're naturally wired. We have more attraction. We have more admiration for people that have attributes and characteristics that we don't share. So like I'm funny. I've done stand-up comedy before. I like to tell stories. I'm comfortable speaking in public, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to be as attracted to somebody who has all those attributes and talents and characteristics because, well, it makes it harder for me to feel like I'm being seen. It makes it hard for me to feel like I'm being known. To a certain degree, yes. But as far as an ongoing day-to-day, this is the love of my life, admiration is a big part of romance. So the woman I'm in love with is actually, you could say, better at details, at follow-through, at multitasking. She's the planner. You couldn't drag her on stage to do stand-up comedy. You couldn't put her on stage with a spotlight on her and her be comfortable. But I deeply admire the characteristics that she has. I deeply admire how intelligent she is, how hard-working she is, how long-suffering and patient she is. Whereas I have a bit of a temper, so I can overreact sometimes. But you get the idea. I'm not trying to make this about me and my wife, but you get the idea. When you're together for a long period of time, usually it's opposites that balance each other. It's usually opposites that share common life goals and a common sense of morality. If you share common morality and common life goals and have a genuine attraction for each other, then usually opposites attract. The problem is, over time, opposites not only attract, but they make it really easy to judge. They make it really easy to stop listening. So I can use me and my wife as an example again. So I'm not as great with budgeting. She's been with me now for 7 or 8 years. So it gets on her nerves that I'm not as good with budgeting. I'm not as good with making sure I take my shoes off when I walk around the house, making sure I scrape my food off the plate before I put it in the dishwasher. There are some things that I'm just consistently inconsistent about. Now, part of the reason she loves me is that I'm a little bit more bold. I'm a little more expressive. I can sweep her off her feet. I make her feel like I'm romantic, that I have strong passion for her, because I do. But with all those things that I'm not as good at, I also have some things that she's attracted to. Like I'm usually bold, I'm usually expressive, I'm usually romantic. I let her know how much I love her. I can write her a poem on the spot. So you get the idea. We're drawn to each other's attributes. The characteristics that we don't share, we tend to find more impressive. But over time, if I'm not making an effort, if I'm not letting her see that I can understand and recognize the things about me that are actually taking away her sense of peace, that are actually making her feel unheard, well, that's going to hurt how she sees me. Opposites attract, but indifference actually breeds contempt. So in other words, it's fine that I'm not wired like her, but she still needs to see that even though I'm never going to be just like her, when she has feelings on an issue and something really matters to her, I can stop and I can listen. I can adjust my behavior. I can put in the effort that makes her feel seen and recognized. Same thing with her. I'm not as good at her with timelines and checklists. So if she comes to me and expects me to be able to match her attention to detail on 17 different projects, she's going to be disappointed and I'm going to be frustrated. But let's just say that we didn't know how to kind of articulate and navigate through these fields. Well, you might have two people that really belong together, that balance each other out really well over time, become so frustrated with one another and become so emotionally numb to one another because they don't actually deal with the issues, because they don't know how to deal with the issues. Being married or being with somebody that's your opposite is a really good, powerful, balancing, dynamic team to have, as long as you're both trying to give reasonable effort to understand and to adjust. Not completely rebuild who you are from the ground up, but adjust. If you have somebody that you really balance well with, that you belong with, that you're a good team with in the beginning, after years, if you're not both paying attention and making sure to respect and to admire the differences more than you judge the differences, then over time, two people who really belong together, who are a really good team, one or both can become convinced that they just don't belong together. It's like, in other words, just kind of sticking with the example. Let's say that my wife left me because I wasn't good with budgets. I wasn't good with follow through. I wasn't good with details, and she just couldn't take it. Now, the way it is really now, if she tells me she needs to talk about something like a budget or a clean issue or help around the house, whatever it is, she knows she can come to me. I'll stop what I'm doing. We have the conversation. I'll make an adjustment and we move forward. She feels heard. She feels validated. She feels understood. It doesn't always work out that smoothly. I'm just trying to talk about the principle. But now let's say she came to me and I didn't want to talk about it because I said, look, I work enough. I work too many hours to have to deal with these little things You can adjust with me having my shoes on in the house. You can adjust with just putting the plates in the dishwasher the way they are, or have the kids do it. If I just discarded her feelings, then that's going to actually lower the attraction. That's going to disintegrate the relationship from the inside. And if I did that, and let's say while she's at work, somebody else starts giving her attention in exactly the areas that I've been ignoring her. One of the aspects of love is feeling seen, understood, and valued. Well, if she's not feeling seen, understood, and valued, heard, recognized, then after a while it seems like it's not that her feelings are being discounted. It'll start to feel like she's being discounted. You can't consistently ignore somebody's feelings without eventually making them feel like they don't matter. So if I did that to her over and over again, and somebody at work starts giving her the attention in exactly the same wound that I'm not giving her attention, making her feel seen and understood and valued, then she can start getting pulled over there. That's, to me, that is the definition of a rebound. It's choosing someone else because they have attributes, not that you're originally attracted to, but that they have attributes that heal the wound that you just got from your previous relationship. On the other side of it, if we didn't have conversations and we didn't understand each other, then I might be drawn to somebody. Let's say I'm in a Zoom call and I'm talking to somebody, and they just think I'm so funny and they think I'm so smart, and they really make me feel heard and valued and validated and admired and respected. And at home, I'm not getting any of that. Even if my wife is my best fit, I'm human. I'm going to start feeling a little bit, I'm looking forward to talking to this person on this day, because I know last time they really kind of made me feel good about myself, and I don't feel that good about myself when I'm around my wife. Now, these aren't true, because me and my wife have these conversations because this is what I do for a living. But if we didn't have those conversations, and I just let myself feel wounded and unheard, and let myself just kind of enjoy having conversations with somebody else, then that's a rebound. Not because I wasn't originally drawn to that person. I was originally drawn to that person as a direct result of them healing a wound that my real relationship gave me. So that's a rebound relationship. If you feel like you've caused that, if you feel like maybe you didn't hear, you didn't understand, then don't just go into no contact. Acknowledge it. Prove that you can identify, that you can see and recognize what hurt them, what drained and disintegrated that attraction. Do it once, do it well, articulate it. Don't make it a 17-page letter. Just address it directly, own it. Don't give an excuse. Don't say, so if you give me one more chance, I really think we can figure this out. Because if you apologize at this point, they're going to take that apology and instantly, instinctively assume that you're only doing it to save the relationship. They won't actually believe that you see it. They'll believe that you're sorry for now, but when they come back to you, you'll go back to your old behavior. So if you attach with it, I can see now that I wasn't listening. I can see now that I didn't hear you. I can see now that I didn't value what you were trying to tell me, and I'm sorry. Please come back, give me one more try. That tends to not work. What works better is acknowledging it and then saying, I'm sorry that it cost me this relationship. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I understand why you're leaving. I wish it wasn't the case, but I'm not going to try to stop you. I should have listened to you when you tried to tell me. I remember when you tried to tell me, and I remember not listening. When you don't add that plea at the end, it actually projects strength. So when you combine the strength that projects along with the insight and the ability to recognize and identify what hurt them, that creates this instinctive compulsion to reanalyze. Now they have a sense of loss. Well, wait a minute. I've been with this person for years trying to get them to see this and understand this. And now when I walk away, they're going to see it and they're going to be even better. So the next person they're with is going to get the version of them that I deserved. I was the one that was with them through all this time. So you have a greater tendency of creating that impact. If somebody's in a relationship with somebody else, and let's say they didn't get that full sense of value or recognition from you, I would say it like this. Say their ego is right here. And right here, let's say their ego wasn't completely full. On a scale of 1 to 100, throughout the course of your relationship, they felt like a pretty good, let's say an 88 on a scale of 1 to 100, they felt pretty good. Well, when they break up with you, if you didn't want the breakup, you're going to chase. That's going to give them a little bit of boost in their ego. Even if they're in pain over the breakup, it's good to feel wanted. So maybe average, they're walking around as an 88. They tell you they want to break up with you. They want to be with somebody else. You chase. That sense of value goes up. Now let's say it's about a 98 instead of an 88. Well, keep in mind, if there's somebody else, then they've got somebody else chasing them. Now this person who normally walks around with like an 88 sense of self-worth on a scale of 1 to 100, now they have 2 people plugging into their ego. That ego tends to be overflowing when 2 people of high value are chasing you. And as much as that can be complicated and emotionally really kind of perplexing and cause a lot of confusion and pain in that person that's being chased by 2 people, it still feels pretty good to be wanted by 2 people. So the more you chase, the more you're setting yourself up as a competition with that other person. Now remember this, The principles of limerence that really create that sense of dopamine, adrenaline, and serotonin flooding into the bloodstream, some of the principles that create that are being new. When somebody's new, they're easier to idealize. So out of you and the new person, which one's new? The new person is the new person. Another thing that does it is if you're forbidden. Well, forbidden, strangely enough, not a big surprise to human nature, being forbidden is a magnifier of attraction. So you got the old person, the new person. Which one is forbidden? So you got somebody who's new, who's idealized, who's forbidden. Which one's more exciting? Because even if you're a better fit with the person you've been in love with, the person who's more exciting is the new person. So you got the old person, you got the exciting person. So they're exciting, they're new, they're forbidden, they're idealized because they don't know them well enough to know their flaws. So you got two people. Even if you're the better person head to head in reality, just by virtue of this situation, by them being new and by you being known, it's not a fair fight. So the more you fight for the attention of this person, the more you're flooding their sense of self-worth, the more you're actually even bonding the two of them together, because they'll start coming together and talking about you. Are they still trying to get you to come back? They don't understand that we belong together, do they? So it solidifies that bond by you resisting that new relationship that they're in. But if you take a deep breath and walk away, sadly enough, part of human nature makes us wonder about what we've lost, sometimes much more than we're grateful for what we have. So if there's two people fighting for this person's heart, this is flooding that person with a sense of worth. If the old person, the known person, let's not call them old, let's say the known person, the previous person, if they're still giving them a sense of self-worth, unplug that and stop feeding their ego. Take a deep breath and say, I understand why you left. I'm sorry I didn't understand sooner. I wish I had heard you. I wish I had paid attention, but I'm going to take this. I'm going to learn from this, and I'm going to be the best version of myself moving forward. And then you walk away. Human nature makes us wonder about the person who left more than we think about the person who stayed in most cases. The situations like this are not always the same. Sometimes somebody will break up with you and start dating somebody that's not on your level. And I'm not trying to be shallow. I'm just trying to say sometimes there's a breakup. The person that was with you is now with somebody that doesn't make as much money, doesn't look as good, isn't as tall. I mean, just going by all the old former known traditional metrics, they don't seem to be on your level at all. It's like, why did they break up with me to go out with somebody that's 2 or 3 degrees beneath me? And I'm just being honest. I'm not saying it's true. I'm just saying that's how people feel a lot of times. A lot of times that's the rebound relationship. It's something that they were getting from that person that they didn't feel validated, that they felt like they were maybe dying of thirst, starving to death to get from you, and they decided to get from that other person. And they don't care if that other person makes less money. They don't care if that other person isn't your match in some other way. Now, there can be other reasons for something like this. Borderline, bipolar, ADHD, if they don't have a strong sense of who they are. ADHD can kind of fall into a lot of patterns that look a lot like borderline themselves. So there are other factors that can create this. But the scarier version, other than the one where the person breaks up with you and dates somebody that you don't feel like is on your level, is when they break up with you and date somebody that you're intimidated by. Somebody, let's just say, God forbid, my wife broke up with me and started dating Brad Pitt. Well, he's going to have me on money. He's going to have me on looks. He's going to have me on reputation. He's going to have me on impact on the world. He's going to have me in a lot of ways, and I'm going to feel like I can't compete with that. And it feels hopeless. Now, you already felt hopeless because the person you thought wasn't going to leave you left you. They picked somebody else, and then if the person they picked makes you feel inferior anyway, then you can quickly go to feeling overwhelmed. And when you're overwhelmed, a lot of times that desperation tells you to keep reaching out. Again, understand where the pain's coming from, but please don't let it dictate what you do, because when you do, you're just going to come back and beat yourself up over listening to that voice. And that's not fair to you. If it is somebody that you feel like is better than you in multiple areas, give them time. The truth is, there are things about you that in this point in time, you're not going to be able to see yourself clearly. You see them as greater than they truly are. Right now in this state of rejection, you see yourself as something far less than you truly are. So you can't trust the accuracy of how you're seeing things right now. So even if they're with somebody that you think is just above and beyond you, take a deep breath. Remind yourself of the good things about you. There's an exercise where I encourage people to write down the negative parts, the negative aspects, and the disadvantages about being in love with the person that they're trying to get back so much. Well, in this case, write down the things about you that are impressive, that are exceptional, because those things are still true, and right now they're not going to feel true to you. You need to remind yourself who you are. But if that person seems like they're a step up from you in every way, I promise you, jumping in and fighting for that person is going to work against you even more. Give them time to find the flaws of that new relationship. Part of the real encouragement I'm telling you is that reality never lives up to the fantasy. Never. But we all tend to think of it inside of our own little world. Well, that's the case for me, but I bet it really works out for people in other relationships. No, it doesn't. Give your ex a chance to really get to know this person that's so impressive, this person that intimidates even you. Give them time to know their flaws. Give the other person time to learn your ex's flaws. Right now, you're judging their relationship based on the happily ever after stage, the honeymoon stage. They're in limerence with each other. The best way to sabotage that limerence is not to compete with it. Give it time to play itself out, and you'll be amazed how many times that it feels like somebody has lost the love of their life to their rival or to this new threat that shows up, that it turns out not to be the case. You can't trust your judgment of everything right now. So just take a deep breath. Remember the good things about you. Remember the good things about your time together, but don't compete and don't fight. And don't let the moment, how it feels now, convince you that this is how it's going to always be. Things change. I imagine 6 months ago, you never imagined you'd be watching this video. Well, 6 months from now, you might be in another place, back in another relationship that you just couldn't imagine that you would be right now. So just give yourself permission to hope. And again, if your situation is different and doesn't really kind of follow anything that I'm talking about in this, all situations have a little bit of different details to it. Let me know if I can help. You can schedule a call with me at realcoachken.com, and I'll talk to you again soon. Thanks.